Well, good morning, everybody. Let me fix my screen here. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for I guess I'm right there too, for the 7th day of July, 2020. Well, I just finished the Esoteric Influences. You'll find them on the side panel. It's on the top, and then this one will go below it. There's 2 videos there. You'll see. Anyway. Those will be all up there when we're done with this one, and the other one will go up probably before this one will. But in any event, I wanted to say one thing that I talked about on it. We have today's July 7th, 2020. So we have a 7/7/22 energy. And what I was suggesting is that we use the 7 energy today to step back and take stock, make sure we understand what's going on before we act, allow things to settle out, and understand the effect of our manifestations today. The 22 is a soul level cosmic builder energy, and so it suggests profound change this year. And I think we could all agree that, in fact, that's what's going on, whether it's personally or collectively with the virus and everything else that we're having to contend with the current folks in the federal government. We are going to have to understand that there's so much deception at work that there just isn't anything probably else that's happening. And so it's just a day where we can really start to let perceptions loosen. Ceres has gone retrograde, and so issues of unity will be considered. Chiron is coming in just as Mercury goes out in about 5 days, and so our wounds laid bare kind of thing. And so you're going to have a lot of time here over the rest of the year where you're starting to transmute ego into spirit, basically. If you choose to do that, I mean, you can struggle against it, remain service to self versus service to others, and it'll be what it'll be for you. But the life bends towards spirit, okay? Because we wouldn't have life without it. So it's always going to have a return to spirit, always. It's not about doing good works to work our way back to God. It's about remembering that we're spirit and that we should be in other words, when we talk about the kingdom of God on heaven, or the kingdom of heaven on earth, that's what we're talking about. That's what that is. It's not some physical kingdom that's going to show up because some prophet shows up. No, it's a remembrance of who we are as spirit. And once we start manifesting from that perspective versus the ego's perspective, then what do we have? The kingdom of God on earth, the kingdom of heaven on earth, right? Yeah, right. That's what we're supposed to be doing. It's what we should have always been doing. But we didn't. There was interference. Things got confusing. And that awareness shifted. It's like they say, oh, well, you come through the veil. Well, okay, and you forget everything. Well, why do empaths not? Why do intuitives not forget everything? No, that's a choice. And it's a choice to remain willfully unaware so that somehow you're supposed to struggle in that? No. Spirit needs to inform every second of our lives. It needs to teach ego the truth of things, not the other way around. You don't have ego usurp the power of spirit. And yet every day, that's what we do. We allow that to happen. When we struggle and we see everything in terms of either or instead of the other side of self, we see somebody as the other, and ooh, the other, So anyway, use this energy today. It's a profound, it's similar to what an energetic gateway would be thought of, but usually you're talking the same numbers throughout. But just think of it as a gateway toward spirit level perception, maybe. Maybe you could think of it that way. So anyway, if this is your first time here, thanks so much for coming by. I really appreciate it. Click subscribe. I would love you to do that. And if you come back, thank you so much. This is great to be able to share this with people. I've said this before, this is thoroughly outside my comfort zone. I don't know how to do it, and so I hope I make sense, but I'm not comfortable speaking in front of people, but for whatever reason, I can do it in front of my computer, so I don't know. Anyway. We all do things that challenge ourselves. This is what I'm doing to challenge me. So anyway, plus to support my blog and the books I write and all of that, just to sort of dovetail everything together. So anyway, let's go ahead and take our first 3 cards. Now, again, if this is your first time here, I take the 13th one each time purely for randomness sake. I was born on the 13th. 13, everything seems to happen to me in 13. So I don't know. Go figure. Check your birthday. And if it's a number that can be reduced, 13 really can to 4. But see if things. I mean, it gets to the point, when you get in the 20s or something where you get past a certain point and something happening to you so many times it doesn't. To see that play out may not be. So you might have to reduce it and see what number you come up with there. That means adding it together. So like 19 would be 9 plus 1 is 10, reduced to that is 1. See, we reduce all the way to 1. So see, now that's just a weird example, but see if things in your life follow your birthday in terms of days. See if the length of something lasting. I was ill for 13 years. A lot of things happened to me. I used to wake up at 3:13. I did that for like 5 years. Every day. I woke up at 3:13 every single day. Well, it's telling me that I'm out of balance. That's what it's telling me. Think about it visually. You've got 3, 3, and 1. That's the scales. And then what happened? I got sick. I got severe rheumatoid arthritis, So, it was telling me something. It's like, what's going on with you? It's so much so that it's waking me up in the middle of the morning to do it. So 5 years this went on. So yeah, I'm going to take the 13th card each time. Let's get started. Well, we have the King of Swords. Kings are not my favorite. We'll talk about that, though. If you've been here before, you know why. I think that the balance in our polarity has gotten off because the male side of the equation has run amok in terms of power issues, and women and children have suffered thousands of years because of it. So things have got to, it's like if you have a bird that's got a broken wing, how do they fly? They don't fly very well, do they? They don't fly at all. Well, that's what we've been doing. We've been circling the drain the entire time, and until we come into alignment with one another and understand our fundamental unity and align that polarity in a little bit better fashion, we're going to continue to experience this nonsense that we are. So the patriarchy has just destroyed us. It really has. Let's take our second card. We're going to do 3. If we have to do more, we will, but otherwise we'll quit with 3, and we'll move on to the Elder Futhark rune, and then we'll close out with the Geomancy rune. So. Oh, we have the World. 21st card of the Major Arcana, the very last one. Sometimes it's called the Universe. Depends on the deck. A lot of really great non-traditional decks that are out there that I use them. I use them all the time. I don't for this reading, but I do. Today I'll do a thing on, I forgot to say this on Esoteric Influences, but it's Tuesday, and I'm going to do a Tuesday tarot reading over on Medium. So I don't know what deck I'm going to use. I used Heindel last time. I don't know what I'll use this time. Maybe Morgan Greer. That might be fun. It's bright and colorful. Let's do our third card. Oh, we have Judgment. We had this one yesterday. Okay, so we know what this is going to be about. Let's talk about that king. Now, here's the problem. This is my basic premise, all right? And it goes back to whatever the story of Adam and Eve was about. Eve was not the problem. It's that Adam, the man, was not aware enough of spirit to understand what whoever was here was sharing with us. Can you imagine What happens when the powers, with the people in charge don't want you to know anything? They want to keep you in the dark. And why? So they stay in charge. That's at the heart of any time. Anytime you have people that get out of control on something, they think that they have power and authority they don't have, they start acting. And they start doing things that the rest of the people who actually have the power and authority and control, they don't know about. And by the time they figure it out, maybe it's too late and there's been all this damage that gets done, right? And it's because it's done with deception. Well, look at the king. Not looking you in the eye, is he? Look at those clouds behind you. Now, the darker clouds denote deception. The sword reflects the air element, so justice, balance, truth, honesty, deception. It's askew. It's not straight up and down, is it? You got Hugin and Munin over there. Odin's ravens. Sometimes this guy's portrayed as Odin. So it depends on the deck. And but basically what we're looking at here is a king that's not going to look you in the eye. You see the butterflies up there, but that's just indicating the air element. That's not indicating anything positive because his back's to it and they don't really matter. It's almost like, and they're so displayed that it's like, ignore me and look at them. The hallmark of the deceptor, right? The deceptive individual, the Decepticon. I love the Transformer movies. Aren't they cool? I mean, I get caught up in any of these, like, what is that one? I can't think of the name on it. It's they're showing it these days. They show it in repeats, but it's where the city is moving, and it's all, and the cities are fighting, but they're all moving. Like London is moving. I can't think of the name of the movie. It's right there. But I like watching those movies because I like looking at what they've done, graphically. It's just incredible. All the gears moving, everything working. It's just the most amazing. I just get totally caught up in it. So watching Transformer movies or any of the space movies or anything like that, I get more caught up in what the ships look like and what the settings look like. Game of Thrones blows me away. I totally get caught up in the set, not necessarily the story. I mean, although I do, but it's looking at how they're dressed and looking at the armaments and looking at the castles and looking at everything that they've done to create all of that. It's just amazing. But in this case, this guy's not amazing. It's all based on deception. So I'm going to switch judgment with the world, and we're going to talk about judgment first. The world is a 3 energy for 21, and here we have 20. So we have 20 and 21. So 2 and 3, balance and then manifestation. Okay, let's think about it that way. So let's talk about judgment. 20th card of the major arcana, it's a 2 energy. We're returning to balance and awareness. But it's the awareness of the polarity between spirit and form, not masculine and feminine. Although you see the cross there on the pennant that's right there next to the horn that Gabriel's blowing. It's that moment of truth, that moment of rebirth, where perceptions are changing. We talked about this when we had judgment. And was it yesterday? I think it was. In fact, I think I still have. Do I still have it? Oh, I do. Yeah, this was yesterday. So I won't do it on this. Here's what we have. That's what that cross is. Now, ideally, in full awareness, we would hover right there, maybe a little above, but we'd have to be there at the abyss. Because that's the abyss. That's the abyss between non-physical and physical form, okay? Where you take that leap. The fool takes the leap into form. Well, that's what they're talking about. You're going from complete purity and androgyny because the fool is neither male or female. But once you take that leap, that's when it all gets defined downward. Well, I mean, it's true. It's true. So invariably, we hang out here if we're totally service to self and ego based. We hang out here, all the way away from spirit, because we don't want spirit coming in and stopping what we want to do. It's like the ego never gets out of the instinct-based child aspect of self. It's all instinct. This is what I need right now. It's very reptilian in that regard. Well, we have the reptilian brain. I mean, we have reptilian DNA in us from, extraterrestrial involvement here, because they're the ones that created us. Not just them. I mean, it was others. But all of that DNA meshes together to create what we are now. But the fundamental thing is that, we're spirit. We're not just these bodies. We're not just this physical expression. It's only a small piece of us that are here in the body. The rest of us is still, think of our energy as a vortex. At the bottom of the vortex, at the point, that's where we are. Here. The rest of us is here in the collective with everybody else. So anyway, we won't belabor that. But the point is that the king needs a change in perception, one that's based in spirit, a return to spirit, because he can't even look us in the eye, can he? The dark clouds are around him, indicating deception is who he is. He's all about deception. Whereas you look at the Queen of Swords and it's off with their heads. The best one, and I don't know if I can find it, but anyway, the best one, if you go to, in fact, you can go to tarot.com and pull up, search for the Thoth Tarot, okay? Look at the major arcana, because all the cards will come up, right? And you can see them. Look for the Queen of Swords, okay? You'll see the majors, you'll see all of it. Go and search for the Queen of Swords and see what that looks like. She's literally leaning back on her throne in the clouds, a sword in one hand and a severed head in the other. Because she's sick of this guy, right? That's whose head she's cut off. She's sick of him. She's sick of his deception. See, the Queen of Swords is about no BS, all right? She doesn't suffer fools. She's a witch. She doesn't suffer fools. None of us do, all right? We don't like lies. Witches don't like lies. We don't like deception of any kind, because then we got to figure out, okay, what are you doing? And we will. Make no mistake about it. We're going to know. So what are you doing, right? And so that's the dichotomy. That's the interaction between the Queen of Swords and the King of Swords. It's off with his head. Stop being an idiot, in other words. Well, but he can't. He just can't. So, but when he changes his perception and he has a rebirth, all things are possible. We come full circle. Elements are in balance. That's what those four things are in the corners. That's the physical representations of or the hermetic ones, if you will, maybe. I don't know. Air, fire, water, and earth. We got earth down here. We've got air. We've got water, and we've got fire. See? But the circular garland with the lemniscates, both top and bottom, is telling us that we are in a constant cycle here of birth and death, reincarnation. No, we get more than one shot at it. Yeah, this weird cycle we're in here to try to help elevate the earth into a higher density as well. I'm sure it's all part of this process. But the bottom line is we now have to get out of that with ascension. We have to now move out of that state, because the earth is coming out of third dimension. We are no longer in third dimension, where most of us are functioning in fourth. And we're trying to move into fifth, spiritually, soul-based wise. The earth is just as big an entity as we are. It's all a collection of soul energy coalesced into this thing called the earth. But it's still soul energy. We're part of it. There's a magnetic connection, if you will, that draws our soul to this place. in our choice where to incarnate, at least a piece of us, because we're everywhere else as well, including in the collective aspect of self. But here we're going to come full circle in purity and awareness, full awareness. That's why she's nude, is so that it's full awareness. It's the fool. A little less androgynous. But if that's true, then look where it went. It didn't go to the masculine side, it went to the feminine side, suggesting a return to goddess presence at the end. Full awareness of who we really are. I don't view the Creator as the Father. I view the Creator as the Great Mother. I think that we've become very patriarchal. And I think that it's reflected in the rebalancing found in judgment. No, it's not about you're going to go and have a life review that's judgmental and it's going to be upsetting. Come into this life fully aware of what we intend to do, fully aware of the challenges that we're going to face. If we've chosen something difficult, one that puts us at odds with other people, maybe, that's difficult. But it's something we've chosen. To understand that side of the equation, maybe we're the oppressor this time. Maybe we're the ones that cause a bunch of havoc in people's lives. But maybe that's because we were the victim before. And so now we want to see what the other side of the equation is all about. These are the soul agreements we make before coming into form. And so you look at somebody and you go, my God, why are they that way? Well, it's because that's what they wanted to experience here. Not because they want that to be the norm necessarily, but because they want to understand the dynamic of a problematic life like that one. Now, we attach a judgment to it when we get here, and we say, ooh, that's a bad thing. Well, here it is. But from a soul perspective, it's just something to learn about, see? Right? Because it's not real. It's very real here. But in terms of the soul, it's an illusion. It's just something to work through. No harm, no foul. Because it doesn't harm the soul, you see. You're just doing what you set out to do. Even if you're making a choice, again, that when you get here, harms people, you're still wanting to know what that's about. Because again, maybe you were on the receiving end of it before, and now you want to understand the other side of it, the dynamic of the oppressor. Odd concept to think about, isn't it? But it can give you a different perspective on what's going on here and just how much attention you give it. Because let's face it, if it's somebody just working something out, you can let them do that. If you can just keep yourself away from it, it's not affecting you. And it may not go anywhere, see, at that point. It's when you give something attention that it gives it life, gives it truth, gives it reality. Remove your attention, it peters out. It's like with a virus, wear a mask, you don't transmit it. Same thing. Maybe that's the lesson we learn here with the virus, right? I don't know. East is the rune for today, the 11th rune of the Elder Futhark, one of the Norn runes. It's the rune of the static realm or present moment, asking us to remain in the present moment and aligned in spirit at the same time, letting spirit inform everything about this whole process. The king has largely forgotten it, or maybe never knew. It's just not who he is. He's a guy who's about deception. Can you believe? This is how warped it is at on the federal level. All right. I don't know if it was yesterday or day before when he came out and said this, but the president came out and said something to the effect of that 99% of us, this will just breeze right through this virus. Won't even hurt us. And now you've got people in his administration who won't disavow that and call it what it is, which is a lie. Again, when the powers that be, when the authority in the room is telling everybody, hey, no harm, no foul, no big deal, no biggie. Maybe you think you can go do things that you really can't do. And the worst happens. Well, who pays for that? Who's responsible for that? This guy. But I take no responsibility. You take responsibility for this? No, I don't take any responsibility. That's what he said. He doesn't. Not his problem. Never has been. It's taken, though. The family, the son-in-law, their businesses, son-in-law's business got PPP funds. Why? And why won't you tell us who got the money? Yeah, no. When they don't want to tell you anything, see, they want to have a narrative that they craft that you all buy. They stack the deck in their favor before they even come and talk to you. Then try to convince you that, oh, no, we didn't keep anything from you. Oh, I didn't know I was supposed to say all that. I didn't know we were supposed to tell you all this. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff you hear. It's like, are you kidding? You think we're stupid? We're not. Oh, we might not say nothing to you directly, but, we know. Especially those of us with hair color like mine. We know what you're doing. We've been around the block a few times. We know when we're being deceived. We know when people are playing games. We know. You can tell me this guy's not playing games? Yeah. So whether this is playing out on the big stage for all of you, or whether there's something going on in your personal life, be aware of deception. Be aware that people want you to believe their agenda and their version of things when it's absolutely not true. They want to get out of the hot seat. They don't want to be responsible. Maybe they think they're going to get sued. Maybe they think something's going to happen to them. I don't know. There's all kinds of things that go into motivating someone to lie to people. But deception's all over the place right now, and we have to pay attention. So I don't know. Align in your source presence, embrace Isa, and figure out what's going on. Isa suggests that intuition can be high right now, and is. So, if some doesn't feel right to you, well, okay, what did I just do? If something doesn't feel right to you, it likely isn't. I don't want to move my chair because I think I just threw my fan on the floor. Oh, I did. And it's the white one, and it's a white floor, so I'm not going to see it. Anyway, I think my light got caught on it or something. But anyway, let's take a look. We've got a single dot for fire. Looks like we've got two. Oh, we got Puella energy today, or Puella, however you wish to pronounce it. All right, I'm going to put that there so I don't knock my fan on the floor again. Well, all right, so Puella is the opposite of Pure. Yesterday we had Rubius, and Rubius is the adult version of Pure. Don't really have an adult version of Puella, though, I don't think. No. When you're talking about Pure and Puella, they're each other's complements. You're talking about young energy, youthful energy. With the little boy, with Pure, you're talking about impulse control, lack of impulse control, and things like that. If you raise boys, you know what I'm talking about. It's not bad energy. It's not evil energy. It's not really even negative energy. It's just energy that's a little bit out of control and youthful and still needs guidance and things like that. That's all. Puella is the same way. I was a Puella. I say this every time I pull this. I was a Puella growing up. I was flighty. I was all over the place. It's not that I couldn't focus, because I could. I had a teacher in the 6th grade tell my mother at parent-teacher conference that the only way I can get your daughter to hear me if she's reading is to come up and put my hand on her shoulder. She's not going to come out of the book otherwise. And my mom's just laughing. She's like, yeah. She taught me to read when I was 3. And not just little, easy, 5-page kid books. We're talking, she had me reading the Bobbsey twins and Nancy Drew and all of these things growing up, right? And I don't remember what I started with. I don't know if it was one of the Bobbsey twin books or whatever that were around back then, but they were books. And she was teaching me to read, and I was doing this at 3 years old. So, and once you do that, the whole world opens up, right? So, Patty Kathy, right? And I'm, Gabby, and I'm flighty, and I'm, she's just, don't be so flighty. Well, that's Puella. The only difficulty with it is that you don't see the bigger picture of things. You're still right in that initial focus, right? And all you see is what's in your head and what you're looking at. And I'm looking at everything growing up, right? Wanting to know, what's this? What's that? What's that? I drove my mother nuts with all these questions, So they began giving me sets of encyclopedias. It's like, here, read about it. So, anyway. But the bottom line is that it's a little bit unstable energy, but at least it's headed in a positive direction. The feminine side of this, the Puella side of that type of youthful energy, is usually a little more responsible than the boy energy. So you're going to see a little bit more responsibility in terms of this, scattered energy. But if you look at it in terms of retrograde issues, all it could be doing is loosening up the retrograde stuff in a way that allows perception to change in a positive direction. So that would be my interpretation of what Puella is for us today. Little girl energy that's unstable, but it's headed in the direction of following the rules versus the little boy that might be a little more reluctant to do that. So that's kind of what you're looking at here today then. But again, if we stay aligned in source presence, then and let source presence energies, higher self energies come in and inform us, we should be able to make better decisions than the King of Swords has been making. And we may be able to understand the greater picture of what's going on instead of just following along like sheep and accepting what the guy in charge says, because he lies continually. I don't know how anybody could ever believe anything this guy says, or anybody that's coming out and talking for him. I don't know how, and especially that new press secretary. Good Lord. I mean, good Lord. Oh, I'll never lie to you. I can promise you that. That's the one thing I can promise. I will never lie to you. Well, anyway, that's it. That's all I got today. Just allow your higher self to guide you today, and see where it takes you, and be aware of the effect on others that you're having. What is it that you're manifesting today? And then be aware of what the effect is that everyone else is doing, because something is wrong. They're on a roll. That's the feeling I have. They're on a roll. They're not listening to anybody. They just do what they want. Never mind that, wait a minute. What are you doing? And then they act like, who, us? Yeah. So it's just something that's going on right now, collectively and individually in our lives. I've talked to more people that have said this. My husband says it almost every day. What's going on? What's going on here? Why is this all being allowed to happen? Well, sometimes the problems in life come to the surface because they're ready to be transmuted into something else. Instead of seeing it that way, as we struggle, it's like, oh no, these are problems, they're awful, awful, awful. But in reality, it's just they're bringing it to light. It's like, okay, now we know. Can we please do something different? Can we go back to how we do things instead of, in other words, if it's people that have gotten off track, it's like, well, no, here's the track. Come on, come back to the track. Because inevitably, when people get off track, oh my goodness. Usually money's involved and people get hurt. So I don't know. I've never understood this. It's like, come on. Ask questions. Find out. What's the truth? What are you doing? Yeah. It's one of those kind of energies. And I just think in this 22 years, giving us the opportunity to take a look at all of it and maybe get things back under control. So that we're all going in the same direction. We all know what we know. We don't have to worry about what some people are doing because we know that they're on the path. But when things start getting weird and it's like, oh, wait a minute, are you off the path? Is that what happened? Are you thinking the wrong things? Come back over here. It's like when somebody new is hired at a business. Instead of just settling down and seeing how things are, being sure of what your position is, being sure of the expectations of you and all of that, and that you're doing your job properly the way they want it done. Because you might have all kinds of ideas, but it doesn't fit the narrative of the business. It doesn't fit the purpose of it, doesn't fit the business plan of it. Maybe the owner has only so much funds to operate with, right? And maybe the kinds of things this new person wants to do can't happen because there's no money for it. But then they yap to everybody, and it's all of a sudden everybody's like mad at the boss because the boss won't let them do anything. It's like, well, wait a minute. Do you not understand the bigger picture of running a business? Well, no, because you're only one little part of it, and it doesn't belong to you. You don't see the books. You don't see the money coming in and out. You don't understand the bigger picture, right? So you come into this group, maybe this job, and you disrupt everything. You get everybody all upset because, oh, nothing's running the way it should. No, how about just settling in and figuring out what you need to know first? And you might discover that some of the suggestions you have simply can't happen. They just can't for structural reasons, right? So let's work it. Let's do what we can do then, right? But you're not there because you haven't been there long enough and you don't know. So one person can come in and upset the apple cart and upend the whole business, make the whole climate dysfunctional, simply because they start asserting themselves before they understand what it is they're asserting themselves in. And believe me, I've seen it. And when this happens, the person doing it looks like a complete idiot. And in truth, that person might be a more than welcome addition to the group, to the business, right? But because they got off track right away, they let their ego get ahead of them, right? They've upended everything. And now nobody knows what to think about this person. So maybe you dismiss this person when you shouldn't, but you see how it all gets started. And pretty soon there's chaos and trying to figure out, well, who did it? What happened here? How'd we get here? Right? Yeah. So like I say, if we just would humble ourselves a little bit, we wouldn't get ourselves into that trouble, but we don't. That's just the problem of being human. We end up acting like the king, assert authority we do not have, based on understanding that is faulty. We start acting and doing. And then there's all this chaos and people wonder how it got there. Well, anyway, again, whether this is happening personally or this is what we're all coping with collectively with this guy, then I don't know. It's likely going to be the same kind of energy. And I just think that today's 7722 energy today, the numerology of today, allows us to take a step back and really take a look at what's going on outside the ego's perception of it. And take a look, and if you're the person who's causing the trouble, knock it off. If you've come into a situation that you really don't know anything about and you're acting anyway and doing things that are really you can't be doing, you better stop because it's not going to serve you in the long run. And conversely, if you're involved in a situation like that, you may have the ability today to step back and see the truth of the matter. And maybe you can help things get back on track. I don't know. That's, again, if it's happening in your personal life. But again, if this is collective, vis-a-vis the virus and all, and what's going on with the federal government, this is a big issue. And it's probably, unless somebody comes in and does something that they were not willing to do before, and then, yeah, I'm talking to you, Senate Republicans. This is your baby. You own this. You own it all. So unless they're willing to do something ahead of schedule, it's going to be November that decides this. What direction are we going to go? We're going to get rid of this guy and get somebody else in there that can actually function in an intelligent way? Or are we going to continue to go down the road of chaos a little while longer? I've been in it. Personally, it's not fun. Have people doing things, they're doing them, but you can't seem to get them to knock it off. By the time you can, so much damage has been done. It's like, oh, Jesus. Thanks, So again, this is something where I think today's a profound day energetically with the 7722 numerology, and make it work for you. Figure out what's going on. If you're the one that's in the way of things, then figure that out and choose another path. But if it's not you, it's someone else, and you need to know what's going on. Figure out the deception today. In other words, understand the truth of things. You may be able, once you know it, to then work around it and get it to stop, especially if it's something you have some kind of tangible control over in your personal life. But if you don't, and it's this other, well, like I say, it's going to be cause and effect that helps that. And that's sad, because we know what that is, right? With the virus, we know what the cause and effect is. And we don't need that. We don't need people dying. We don't need any of this. So anyway, that's all I have. Again, this is just one of those, once you start getting majors in here and stuff, you start looking at the court. I really think that this is really talking about either someone who's asserting their authority incorrectly and inappropriately. Well, they are, but how profound of an effect it will be, it could be even in your personal life. Whoever's doing it could have a profound effect on you. And so we can't afford to be willfully blind about things like this anymore. We have to see what's in front of our face, and we're going to have to figure out what it is. And I'm sorry if it means you have to shift your perception into something completely opposite from what you've been believing, but that's where we are. I mean, the cards say it. So in any event, thanks so much for watching. Again, check out the blog over at I'mSteppingAside.com. This again will go up on the side panel underneath the Esoteric Influences video for today. And come back tomorrow and click subscribe. I'd love you to do that. So in any event, look for the Tuesday Tarot on Medium today. And I think I'm going to use the Morgan Greer. I've got it right here. And so it'll be easy. And I won't have to go looking for a deck. I have them in various places. So anyway, thanks so much. And we'll see you tomorrow. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another. Wear a mask, and blessed be.